Hey, what's up guys, my name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. I want to thank you for joining me for another Age Reforged replay battle. Today I've got a 3v3 and I want this to be kind of a supplement to the Dale video that I released very recently on how to create armies with the Kingdom of Dale. And it's particularly pertinent because I'm playing as Dale and I'm using one of the comps that I showed you, and I'm also going to be facing off against Angmar. So it is, yeah, it's basically proof of concept in terms of that particular army comp that we looked at. So without any further ado, let's take a look at some of the army comps here, and then we can get into the replay itself. I hope you guys enjoy it. So the first army we're going to look at today is the forces of Dol Amroth, being commanded by Man of Wanwei, who actually only recently rejoined the community. I've been playing games with him for probably about a year or so now, and it's really great to have him back. And I think this is one of his first battles on the new build, so that's pretty exciting. But in any case, he's got a couple units here of civilians, which is a trash unit. They are very throwaway, but they are actually really useful for blocking charges and stuff, and you're actually going to see that in this battle. Now, they don't have a lot of killing power behind them, of course. They've only got about 4 or so damage and terrible stats, and they can't really stand any sort of thing that resembles a formation. But you can kind of use them as the pawns in your army, where you can exchange them for an advantageous situation that will maybe allow other assets in your army to do work that they may not have otherwise been able to do. In any case, he's also bringing here a unit of the Dornernal Swordsman, which looks like kind of a last-minute pick, like just some extra fun. So why not bring some extra swordsmen? Dornernal Archers, a couple units of them. And then he's got the really nasty stuff, the meat and potatoes of his Dol Amroth infantry lineup. Got a couple units here of the Black Swan Vanguard, and 1 unit of Talon Knights, who are an Inspire unit, so they're going to be very useful for keeping the rest of the Dol Amroth rank and file in the fight for longer. In behind them, 1, 2, 3 units of Dornernal Pikes, a unit of the beautiful and deadly Haven Guard, who are now locked morale in this patch. And I think they got more damage or melee defense, one of those two. Behind them we have the Swan Knights, a melee cavalry unit that uses a 2-handed sword. And the animations, it is very worthwhile to note, as it may be something that changes in the future, but the animations for the 2-handed melee cavalry units are extremely fast, and it makes them very effective indeed. Man of Wanwei also bring a couple units of Knights of the Silver Swan, Heavy Lancers, who are very nasty, very well protected. And then finally a unit of Haven Knights, the very much a superiority unit. The melee knights are absolutely devastating against other cavalry. The trade-off for this is that they do not have the nasty AP charge that their lance-armed counterparts do, so they can't do quite as much damage to infantry formations charging into them. So yeah, nice little trade-off there. But let's move on now to my Dale army. This one being commanded by myself, of course. I got a couple units of Earls of Dale, and if you guys watched our Dale army comp video, then this will be very familiar to you. But if you haven't, I recommend that you go and watch it, because it, like I said earlier, makes a great supplement to this particular video. But in any case, I got a couple units here of Earls of Dale, heavy melee cavalry, 2 units of Laketown Bowmen, 2 units of Laketown River Patrol, and they are placed where they are so that even if the enemy manages to break through the line, these guys are going to have a clear line of fire, but they're also not going to be immediately engaged in close quarters. And I've actually spread them out so that a single unit can't tie down both of my units of Laketown River Patrol if they manage to penetrate our front line. I've also got a couple units of Greenwood Lumbermen with not armor upgrades, but attack upgrades. And they're going to be supporting 3 units of Laketown Pikemen mixed in with 3 units of Laketown Spears. Out in front, I've got some Dalian Marksmen, 2 units of Dalian Marksmen. And then we've got some of my more elite infantry picks. I got a unit of Barding Herd on either wing. And what do we got left over? Yeah, some Swordmasters of Karnan, and I brought them because I opted to bring the Blackshot Dragon Slayers in this game, because I felt that they would be very useful as an anti-cavalry tool, and boy was I right about that. So instead of the Dalish Royal Guard, who have a nice little AoE morale buff, I decided I would bring a unit of Swordmasters of Karnan and use them to, pardon me guys, to support my main line with their Inspire ability. So that's going to help my lower morale Laketown units stick in the fight for longer, and more especially the Greenwood Lumbermen, who are pretty low on melee defense. So that does it for my army. Let's move on now to my third and final ally, or rather my second ally, but the third and final member of the blue team. We have First Class Mint, who is somebody that I've never actually played with before, but I have to say his performance in this battle really impressed me, and yeah, I would definitely like to play another game with him in the near future. But he's got a couple units here of the Gondor Cavalry, who are now Spear Cavalry, so they're anti-cav. Nice little thing to have for Gondor, who was previously Lancer dependent and therefore quite weak in a cav-to-cav engagement. So that's a nice little upgrade for them. Got some Gondor Spearmen and some Gondor Infantry on his main line, and they are fully upgraded too. Look at that beautiful plate armor. Not going to be an easy thing to cut your way through, indeed. couple units as well. The Axemen of Lasarnak, again, fully upgraded to their, it's like 11 armor value. It's very high indeed. Unit there of the Pelargir Marines. 1 unit of Nimlothian Honor Guard. Actually, I think he's got 3 units of Axemen of Lasarnak instead of 2. And I know he's got a unit of Fountain Guard hanging out around here somewhere. And they're probably mixed in with the Gondor Spearmen. I think he might even have some Citadel Guard. And let's take a quick look. Let's try and find those black capes. Nope, he does not have any Citadel Guard, but he does have a unit of regular Fountain Guard. Out in front, he's got a unit of Gondor Archers, again, fully upgraded. Ramesek or Garrison Archers, and another company of Gondorian Archers. I really like this build. I think this is a strong build for Gondor to use, especially against armored factions, with 2 units of Fountain Guard and 3 units of Axemen of Lasarnak, and his unit here of Pelargir Marines. Anything that is reliant on its armor value is going to be in for a nasty shock against this army. It's got a little bit of cavalry to help defend himself with. There's his Fountain Guard. Yeah, they're hanging out way in the back here. So yes, indeed, he does have a unit of Fountain Guard. But that does it for the blue team. Let's go ahead and see what the red team is bringing to the battle today. Across the field from the sturdy men of Gondor, we have the Elves of Imladris being commanded by Apex Celtic, who is known for bringing some very interesting builds, and I think this is going to be another one of them. He's got a couple units here of the Imladris Riders with a single armor upgrade, so that's what their singular armor upgrade looks like, although it's kind of hard to tell since they are very dirty. I have heard some talk about the weather effects recently and a little bit of confusion about what exactly they are. Some people think that maybe the textures are just kind of looking muddied and not very high quality. In fact, that is not the case. We have weather effects now, thanks to Kuro finding a mod and adding it to the game. And yeah, this is the result of that. Now, they get dirty before the gates even open because of the way that they're implemented. Now, the weather effects will apply gradually. The more time you spend on the battlefield, the more that you move around. But riders and footmen shifting in place is actually counted as a ton of movement, so they get really dirty really quickly. So it's a little bit immersion breaking, and it is something that I think is going to get changed in the future to be a little bit more like blood effects, so that once you're in combat, you'll get dirty and bloody, rather than just getting dirty as you move around the field. It's kind of a one or the other situation. You can't really have one. You can't really like lower the weather effects, like the frequency of them. I think you can maybe tweak the intensity, but they will still have that problem of when they shift in place, they get really, really dirty. So it's a one or the other sort of thing. But in any case, I digress. That's enough about that. Got some Naratian warriors here from Celtic as well. Eldar Quinga, Eldar Nweharu Quinga, and I think he's got some more Naratian warriors over here as well. So a skirmish-heavy Imladris army, not something you see every day. Also got some Gwaithi Rockdor, who are nasty elven knights. Eldar Nweharu Mairo, who are devastating on the charge. And they may end up becoming Spear Cav in the future, just because right now, with the Gwaithi Rockdor being what they are, the Eldar Nweharu Mairo are maybe a little bit superfluous, so I would like to see them become an upgraded version of the Imladris Sentinels, who you're going to see over here, who are a Spear Cav unit. Very nasty indeed. You can see the distinction between the elven units. The Noldor tend to inspire and wear golden armor, whereas the rank and file of Imladris tend to have the silver armor, which is what the Imladris sentries there are wearing. So a couple units there of the Imladris sentries, and not a lot of infantry at all. Got 2 units here of the Eldar Itar Spearmen, that's going to be basically it. And mostly they're going to exist for the purpose of defending these archers from cavalry. So again, an interesting build, and one that I've seen him use with a large cross-section of factions. So this is not the first time the Celtic has tried to use this army, and he really does tend to favor micro-heavy armies, for better or for worse. So in any case, moving on now to his ally, we have the Witch Realm of Angmar, being commanded by Clueless, and he's brought some melee knights of his own. A nasty unit here. The Witch Realm Inquisitors are absolutely devastating against cavalry, but again, unlike most knights, they don't have a lance, so they don't have the AP charge. Got some Scourge Raiders here with their upgraded unit model. Kind of hard to tell because a lot of them are very dusty. Also got some Trolls of Angmar. A nice core infantry force here, composed of some Guardians of Cardoon, who are an Inspire unit, and a couple units of Witch Realm Pikes. Also got a unit of Blackwatch Legion, great for pushing through pike formations like the one that I have across the field from him. Another unit here of the Witch Realm Scourge Raiders, and a bunch of Orc Fellers. I think he's got like 2 or 3 units of the Orc Fellers, and a couple units of Warg Riders as well. So a nasty, very rush-focused army, and I think he's got some Snaga Archers that are hidden here too, and maybe some Snaga Stalkers as well, which are, the first unit is free for Angmar, so there's really no reason not to bring them, at least one unit. Moving on now to his ally, we have the forces of Harad, being commanded by new player 195, who is actually not all that new anymore. I've seen him in quite a few replays, and I've played a few games with him, and yeah, he's definitely He's more like veteran player at this point. But in any case, got some South Run Archers, 1, 2. And you have Haradrim Archers as well. I don't know if they have any Rangers. It's kind of hard to tell since those units can hide. But he's got a front line composed of Haradrim Spearmen and some Muhad Beast Tamers, which is a cool combination, actually. The Haradrim Spearmen actually got cheaper, and so did the Muhad Beast Tamers. So this actually makes a really nice front line. A lot of people tend to go for the Muhad Tribesmen plus the Spearmen, but if you use the or plus the Muhad Beast Tamers or whatever the hell they're called, yeah, they're in there somewhere. But yeah, if you use the Haradrim Spearmen instead of the Muhad units, then you have a lot more money to spend elsewhere on units like, say, the Serpent Guard, for example. I think we've got 1, 2, 3 companies of Serpent Guard, a couple of units of Trollmen here, 1 unit of Trollmen of Harad, 1 unit of the Champions of Nafarat, and a unit of Demons of the Desert, and finally, we got the Cav lineup. Serpent Guard, 2 Serpent Guard, Black Serpent Bodyguard, and some Haradrim Raiders. So a fairly well-balanced cavalry force here, and a really nice infantry force from Harad as well. Very, very nasty, a lot of numbers, and a fair amount of support as well. But in any case, let's go ahead and jump into the replay. Now, this is a game that definitely takes its time, and those kind of scenarios are going to be ones that definitely play to the strengths of Dale, because the longer they're able to hold their enemies at arm's length with either their cavalry or the range of their archers, the better off they're going to do, because their archers are going to have more time to fire. What do we got here? A couple of units of Snaga Stalkers, I think, from Angmar, and some Snaga Archers out in front as well. A little bit of ranged fire support, although he's definitely dumped a lot of money into his infantry force, which is generally what you want to do as Angmar. They're a little bit more on rails than some of the other factions, but you can diversify a little bit. But one of the things that actually really frightened me about this is how separated Gondor was from Dol Amroth and myself, and how widely spread our enemies were. We have a big gap in the middle of our formation here. If they were to use some of their cavalry, like the Inquisitors, for example, and they were to harass our back lines with them, Gondor and I don't really have anything that could stand up to them. The Inquisitors are deadly, deadly, and they're more than enough to shred Gondor's spear cavalry, and more than enough to deal with my Earls of Dale. And we're going to see that a little bit later on in this battle. But luckily, I have an ally over here in the form of Man of Wanwei who's going to be defending my left wing, and he's going to be nice and aggressive. You can see him moving out with some of his militia units to be a bit of a screen, soak up a little bit of ammunition from the incoming Haradrim Archers, and yeah, just generally using these kind of throwaway militia units the way that they're essentially intended to be. And you can see some of these Dornernal Archers fleeing in the face of an attack from the Wargs. Actually, it looks like he had some Nirmendal Rangers as well. Rangers are very good at dealing with chaff, and low armored chaff at that, especially the Haradrim. That's going to be nasty for them. But yeah, moving on. Civilians here being used to block an attack by the Wargs, and I can see that my ally might be in a little bit of trouble, so I'm actually going to move forward with my Earls of Dale, and now that these Warg Riders have charged in, I may be able to deny them the initiative and charge in to their wing, although of course there is another unit of Warg Riders nearby, so I don't want to just get right in there, stuck in right away, because I could quickly find myself surrounded by some nasty units. But one important thing to note here is that after these units charge in, they are well within range of my Archer Corps. And I'm going to be able to support them with some Lake Town Bowmen and some Dalian Marksmen if I so choose. So I'm going to use my Earls of Dale here as kind of a tar pit. They will be able to hold off these Wargs for quite a while, and since these units are charging into the back of their other unit, they're not actually going to get a charge bonus against my Earls. Now, they're going to take heavy casualties because Wargs are nasty and they're armor-piercing, but you can see a lot of arrow fire coming in from both myself and Man of Wanwei into these Wargs, and that is going to be significant. And Wanwei also moving in with some Swan Knights, getting a nice flanking charge there against the Wargs, and that is going to, again, deny them the initiative and that nasty charge that the Warg Riders can bring to bear. And ultimately, even though we are outmatched in terms of anti-cavalry bonuses and just raw stats, the Earls of Dale and the Swan Knights are going to be able to pull this fight back. You can see the Angmar player Clueless bringing in some of his Witchrealm Scourge Raiders to try and infect us around here, my Earls of Dale, as they start to win that fight. But that is going to give me an opportunity to reform some of my Dalian Marksmen from my front line, and then I'll be able to put a little bit of fire into these Witchrealm units here and try and destroy as many of them as possible. But don't worry, I'm going to pull my Earls of Dale out of there pretty quickly. Don't want to lose the unit at all. Let's take a look at what Angmar is up to. You can see them moving in very, very quickly, but because they are microing kind of on two fronts here, this is really going to play to my advantage. So you see I got my Lake Town River Patrol hanging out in the back here, and these units of Guardians of Carn-Dûm just kind of standing out in the ether, not engaging my line. Don't really blame them. Look at that. It's a fearsome line of spears indeed. But the fact that they are standing there is going to give me an opportunity to assault them with my Lake Town River Patrol and to destroy some pretty important assets for Angmar. Over here you can see him trying to envelop me, but he's going to spread himself a little bit too thin, I think. And with those Witch Realm Scourge Raiders just kind of sitting out here in the open, I'm actually going to be able to focus them down with some Daily Marksman. I didn't want to get my Earls of Dale stuck in there. They'd probably do okay against the Witch Realm Scourge Raiders, but I mean, why commit them when I'm going to need them later? And I can just shoot these unshielded units instead with my Daily Archer Corps. Let's pop on over to the Gondor Imladris fight. You can see that Gondor Cavalry charging in here against the Elder Inuheru Maidro. Not the best kind of situation for the Gondor Cavalry to be in, especially since they're being backed up with some Imladris Sentinels. But the Gondor Cavalry, they've got numbers and they've got nasty anti-cavalry bonuses, so they may be able to do a decent amount of damage to those units, but it really does remain to be seen. Over here, it looks like the Gondor Archers kind of got themselves charged down, and there's some Gondor Cavalry in there also assisting, along with some Gondor Spearmen. That's one of the things that I noticed that First Class Mint did really well in this, is kind of this bait and switch thing, where he'll leave a vulnerable unit out in order to bait a charge, or whether or not he intends to bait a charge, but when a charge inevitably comes, that he's pretty quick on the draw with his Spearmen and with his other anti-cavalry units, and I think there's a decent amount of dead Imladris sentries there. He's definitely killed about 20 or so men, or elves I should say, from this unit, so that's pretty significant, especially given how much Imladris has invested into their cavalry here. If they can bleed them on the front line just by sacrificing some archers, that's not so bad. Even if Gondor loses their archers, they've still got all these fully upgraded units that are all shielded, and they're going to be able to outlast the High Elven Skirmish Fire for a very long time. Moving on back over to my side, see the Trolls of Angmar have moved in. I've moved up with a unit of my Barding Herd, and they're going to get stuck in with the Witch Realm Scourge Raiders. Meanwhile, the Trolls of Angmar coming in from the rear. But, I mean, this is obviously not ideal, and they're going to be a problem, and they're definitely going to tie up some of my skirmishers here, but I've got answers to it. I can say I'm actually moving in with a unit of my Sword Masters of Karnan. Actually, I think these guys might temporarily be going into the center, just because the Angmar units are pretty nasty, and I can see that I got a few units on the yellow there. I don't know if you guys saw that. But yeah, so I want to keep them nearby so that they can inspire the Lake Town units and prevent them from routing. Over here I got my Barding Herd. I'm going to pull them out of this defensive position over here on my left wing, and I'm going to shift them over to my right because I need to shut down the Trolls of Angmar. And there's not really a whole lot going on over here. Not Dale. Dol Amroth, rather, has these situation well in hand, so I'm able to pull out of there with my Earls of Dale and my Barding Herd as well, and I'm going to be able to redeploy. Over here you got some breaking Orc Fellers charging in against a very, very beleaguered unit of Dornernal Pikemen, but with the cavalry support from Dol Amroth, they are going to be able to scatter Angmar's forces and take some of the Haradrim with them as well. You see the Harad first wave here, Haradrim Spearmen getting stuck in against some Black Swan Vanguard of all things. They're going to have no problem gutting these units. Usually the Black Swan Vanguard don't do well against units with higher melee defense, but this is a militia tier Spearman, and yeah, they're going to carve through them like a hot knife through butter. Over here, Muhad Warriors get stuck in against another unit of Black Swan Vanguard, but they're going to have no problem getting through there as well. I actually got some Knights of the Silver Swan bearing down on their flank. Ooh, that's going to hurt. And indeed it does. You can just see those units getting pancaked by Dol Amroth's Shining Knights. And Harad is not doing so great in the infantry fight here. Now they are moving up with some of their reserves. Got a lot of heavy hitting units here. We have 4 units of dismounted Serpent Guard? Wow, I thought there was 3. No, in fact, there is 4 still yet to come. So this is really just the first wave of Harad's forces, and Dol Amroth is defeating them quite swiftly, but they may find themselves getting caught up in the advance of the Haradrim reserves, which would not be great for them. Could lead to a bit of a surround. Let's see what we got over here. Got some Snaga Stalkers trying to skirt around my line and maybe outflank my Lake Town units here. Snaga Stalkers are actually not bad, especially against lower tier units like my Lake Town units. If they manage to get us surround in a nice little flanking charge, then they will do some serious casualties. It is not negligible. Let's see what I got going on out here. So my Lake Town River Patrol getting a little bit too far ahead of themselves, so my Spearmen as well doing the same thing. I am going to have the option to pull back my River Patrol. I don't really want to pull back my Spearmen though, because they are fighting on quite a long front here. But if we look at the infantry fights, Angmar is not able to penetrate this wall of bodies and spears and pikes. Over here, they are having some success with some of their stronger units, especially the Blackwatch Legion, but this is why I have reserves. Units like my Lake Town River Patrol are going to be very useful instrumental, in fact, for shutting down a Blackwatch Legion push. Now, let's take a look at the Trolls of Angmar. They've kind of just been ping-ponging back and forth against some against the rear of my front line and trying to shut down some of my elites. So great micro there on the part of the Angmar player, but I am slowly dragging them down. You can see that they're actually embroiled in melee with the Blackshot Dragon Slayers. And I've got some nasty AP units that are coming in from the rear in the form of my Barding Herd. So they're going to catch the Angmar Trolls, who are actually going to pull out of that fight against my Dragon Slayers, which they were losing, and they're going to move in against my front line. I'm going to move in with my Barding Herd. I'm going to pin them in this wall of spears and bodies. I'm going to use my AP to great effect, and we'll be able to cut them down. I'm going to do the same thing over here with my unit of Barding Herd. So we are well on our way to kind of shutting down this breach of our lines. And I think I've got my Laketown River Patrol into position now where they can start to take a bite out of the Blackwatch Legion, and the Guardians of Karn Doom who are supporting them. Let's go ahead and let's turn that up and witness the destruction that the Laketown River Patrol can cause. Nasty damage there. Quite a lot of those orcs falling. And I think another volley is going to come in. I think I actually used my entire ammunition pool here just to shut down this big pool of Angmar infantry and to make sure that they aren't able to push through my pikes. Let's see what we got in the back there. It looks like some routing orc fellers. So Angmar is really taking a beating, having to fight a war on two fronts here. Yeah, you can see the damage these guys can cause. I think I've got one more good volley left in them. They're going to do a lot more to thin out the herd of those black armored savages. Snug Archer's now out of ammunition. They're moving in against... I'm not too sure what they're trying to do. They might try to get around my flank again, but I've got a unit here at the Laketown River Patrol, and I'm just going to use them to tar pit. I've got some archers nearby. Actually, I stopped firing with a lot of my archers because I wanted to save my ammunition for a little bit later on in the game, and it proves out to be a good decision. Or turns out to be a good decision. But yeah, in any case, I'm going to move in with my Laketown River Patrol, pin these guys in place, and start to shoot at them a little bit with my Laketown units on the flank there, get some nice enflating fire. But let's move on now to the Harad Dolamroth fight, where Dolamroth is carving their way through legions of the Haradrim. Where the Haradrim are a little bit more concentrated, they are standing up a bit better to the Dolamroth infantry, but damn, those Haven Knights just butchered those Serpent Guard. And now Dolamroth is moving in for a nice surround here. Some Talon Knights mixed in amongst the Southron Archers. It says victory is a distinct possibility, but honestly don't believe the Talon Knights are going to massacre these guys. It won't even be fair or funny. Let's see what we got over here. Haven Knights doing a number on the Archer companies, shutting them down. Although getting embroiled in a fight with Trollmen of Harad is probably not the best use of the Haven Knights, because, yeah, nasty damage and their AP on those Trollmen units. Now, in terms of the Cav fight, though, that's going to be pretty significant. It looks like Dolamroth is actually losing that. I can see a lot of dead blue and silver armored knights on the ground, although an equally large number of Serpent Guard, to be fair. I think maybe this is where the Swan Knights might have died, and that would explain the mass of dead Serpent Guard there. Since they are Lancers, they are particularly vulnerable to melee Cav. But the Haradrim, through sheer numbers, are actually winning the day. And the Black Serpent Bodyguards are still in very good condition, and that is a big threat right here. 21 Black Serpent Bodyguards can change a game. And, yeah, so that's something that Dolamroth is going to have to watch out for. Got some Haradrim Raiders over here charging into the rear of the Haven Knights. Says that defeat is certain, but even if these units die, they're going to take a lot of these low-tier bowmen and these skirmish cavalrymen with them. It's going to be gross. There's going to be another big pile of bodies there. But this is where maybe this fight can start to turn around. New player moving up now with his Demons of the Desert. If he gets a nice flanking shot with those Demons of the Desert, I mean, that's going to be devastating. He will wipe out the Dolamroth line here in a pretty big hurry. Now, luckily, Dolamroth does have some archers nearby that they can use to take some bites out of the Demons of the Desert, who are very, very lightly armored indeed and have no shield. But let's see. Let's see exactly what these units manage to accomplish. Let's kick it up to full speed there. I got to know. Oh yeah, it looks like they are going to go for a shot on the flank there. Good play here. Good positional play on the part of new player 195. Oh, look at this. They just toss units into the air. It's comical. Darnell Pikemen beginning to lose this fight here against the Serpent Guard. And whatever else Harad is committed to this fight as well. Looks like Harad moving around with some Trollmen of Harad, and they're going to run smack into a unit of Haven Guard. And the Haven Guard are more than capable of dealing with the Trollmen. They have sufficient melee defense and armor values to weather the storm of AP damage that the Trollmen are going to be able to throw at them. but it is going to cost them. Although, to be fair, given the numbers between the two of them, the Trollmen of Harad have taken some pretty serious damage, and I think they've lost about 30 or so men from the unit. So the Haven Guard are going to wipe them out pretty quickly and efficiently. But let's move on now. Take a quick sweep over the Angmar fight here. You can see me slowly cleaning up what remains of Angmar. Sheer numbers have really helped my front line hold. And I've still got a very healthy army left, so I'm actually going to send some reinforcements towards Man of Wanwei to help him deal with the Harad menace. But over here, Gondor versus Imladris. See Imladris still cycling charges in and out, and it looks like both armies have really given as good as they've gotten on both sides. There's a lot of dead cavalrymen all around, and there's a lot of dead Gondor infantrymen as well. But Gondor still stands strong. There's a lot of tough, well-armored and strong units still left over. And of course they've still got, what do you know, they had some Mathilian Rangers hiding in here as well. Very nice comp indeed. But yeah, they still got some Mathilian Rangers, they still got Axemen of Ulsarnak, they still got reserves, they got Nimlothian Honor Guard, all of this stuff. So Imladris is really going to have to make their archers count, but it looks like they're mostly out of ammunition at this point, and Gondor has successfully weathered the arrow storm, and now it's going to come down to an infantry fight. Mostly archers and a couple of spearmen versus everything that Gondor has left. That's going to be an interesting fight indeed. But let's move on just a little bit. We can see, yeah, unfortunately I didn't catch my Earls of Dale fighting against the Inquisitors, but the Inquisitors really did a number on me, and I in turn managed to nearly wipe the unit out. Got 8 Inquisitors still left in there. See the Witch King leading him. It's not their general, it's just an officer unit, but yeah, still kind of cool. So a little bit of cav in behind my lines, but I'm not super worried about it, just because I have so much left over after defeating the main body of the Angmar troops. So that basically does it for the center fight. Let's move on now to Man of Wanwei's side of things and see if my reinforcements managed to make a difference. Greenwood Lumbermen charging into the flank of the dismounted Serpent Guard. And as I mentioned in the Dale video, if these guys got a charge off, they perform very well against the Serpent Guard indeed. They won't win the fight, and you can see that they are not winning it, especially tired as they are, or very tired. But the damage that they do to the Serpent Guard is well worth it, and the numbers that they'll drag down with them makes this a worthwhile committal. Over in the back here, Blackstorm bodyguards down to 9. I don't know what happened to them, but Dol Amroth certainly did something. I think maybe some of the units got embroiled in a bit of a fight with the pikes. I think I can see some dead horsemen in there. I could be wrong about that. If so, that's a very big mistake on the part of new player. Getting your cavalry stuck on giant pointy sticks is never going to turn out well for your cavalry. Blackstorm bodyguards over here charging into the Dornernal archers, doing their best to thin out the remaining forces of the blue team here as they try to effect a surround on the small pockets of Harad resistance that still remain. Although, new player has managed to hold on to his champions of Nafrat, and they are in pretty good shape indeed. So I can see this, and I've got my Lake Town Bowmen nearby, and I think these guys are out of ammunition, or just recently became so. But I know that they were firing into this kind of center blob here where the champions of Nafrat were at their strongest, and they did a fair amount of HP damage to them, so that's pretty useful. Over here, Lake Town Bowmen moving in to reinforce what remains of Dol Amroth, and to try and complete this around on the champions of Nafrat. Not really expecting these units to win, but they will hold up Harad and they will inflict casualties, which is really what I want. I don't want a big, strong Haradrim force of battered but still strong elites bearing down on my back lines. As you can see elsewhere, I am moving with the majority of my forces to go and help out my ally. Celtic is actually on top of me, however, with the Gwythi Rockdor, which I didn't even see until they were butchering my poor Dalian marksmen. Over here, I got some Imladris riders. I think I'm actually using my Dragon Slayers to take a nice little bite out of them. So they're going to take a fair amount of casualties there and almost start to consider at least routing off the field. Dalian marksmen still standing their ground, and I'm kind of okay with this. I want the Gwythi Rockdor to kind of cycle in and out. You can see I just killed Glorfindel with my AP archers. But the Blackshot Dragon Slayers are just so strong against heavy cavalry. I used them against the Witchrealm Inquisitors as well and did a lot of damage to them. And now you're going to watch this Gwythi Rockdor start to melt a little bit as they try to pull away from that engagement. I see a lot of arrows coming into the back of them. So I'm looking for those telltale Blackshot arrows. Well, it looks like they managed to get out of there, but at least this time. And my Blackshot Dragon Slayers are trying to shoot at them, but yeah, they just do such a significant amount of damage to heavy cavalry that they are honestly one of Dale's best anti-cavalry assets. Looks like Celtic is trying to ping-pong them back and forth here. Gwythy Rockdor now charging at my Barding Herd, but this is kind of what I was waiting for. Now my Blackshot Dragon Slayer is going to have an opportunity to shoot them, and now my archers are, of course, being defended from the front by my Barding Herd. That's not something that you want to charge into the front of. Those are essentially AP spears with a little bit lower anti-cavalry bonus, but still, they've got AP. It's not fun. Gwythy Rockdor charging down some of the Athelian Rangers, although they look like they're out of ammunition, so it's not so bad. If they're out of ammunition, then they've definitely kind of paid for themselves in this battle, because the Athelian Rangers can just do so much against some of the more lightly armored elven troops. Pardon me, guys. A little bit stuffed up. I have allergies as well. But elsewhere, I got my daily marksmen hidden behind my lines here, and I've brought them in range of the elven infantry as they are assaulting the Gondorians. I noticed that my Gondorian ally was struggling quite significantly, and a lot of the elven units were bunched up. So I have moved my archers into a position where they can fire basically along the line and deal a ton of damage. And you can see those Nori Eterna warriors really taking a beating. It's gone from victory being a certainty to defeat being a certainty, thanks to my archers. We got here Eladra Sentinels. The Elijah's Cap just ping-ponging back and forth, trying to pick at bits of the Gondorian units. But, ooh, what do we got here? Gondor infantry, ooh, really taking it on the chin there. Very unfortunate for them. Although they are centered around the Nimlothian Honor Guard, who I know are in here somewhere. So they're not going to rout. They're not even going to think about fleeing in front of the elites of the White Tower. Very useful unit for keeping your units in the fight for a very long time, even under heavy pressure, as you can see here. Eladris Riders charging into the Athelian Rangers. It's not the most effective cavalry unit for rear charges and stuff like that. The Eladris Riders don't have a ton of attack. But over here, my forces now out of ammunition. I'm actually using my Blackshot Dragon Slayers here to, I think, shoot at these Eladris Sentinels. Yeah, because they're definitely a threat. You can see them just melt under that AP arrow fire. It is just so nasty, and you've got 12 volleys to deal with. Like, look at this. They went from, like, 20 men down to 11 here in the space of just a few volleys of arrows. It's so significant. Rear charge here against the Fountain Guard. If those Fountain Guard turn around, oh man, they're going to destroy those Elven units. And it looks like the Elven General just fell. The Gwythy Rockdor now down to a meager 4 men left in the unit, and that's basically it for most of the Elven force here. You can see them slowly being encircled, and now that my reinforcements have arrived, we're going to be able to roll up the line here and destroy these Nori Eterna warriors. But elsewhere on the field, looks like I've still got some units just kind of hanging out here in no man's land. Just trying to regroup, bring some of my units that got left behind back towards the rest of my forces. Haven Guard from Dol Amroth still around, but basically nothing else left from Dol Amroth is. Despite my best efforts, the Blackstorm bodyguards are running havoc in our back lines, routing some of my Laketown bowmen. And the Champions of Nafarat, they've taken a lot of damage. They've lost about 40 or so men here, which is what we want. But they are going to be able to defeat my Laketown units, especially with this constant cycle charging. I had a unit of pikes here that I was using to try and fend off the Blackstorm bodyguards, but I simply wasn't paying attention, and new player was able to basically just run rushshot all over me, which is unfortunate for my poor men of Laketown, but a nice play on his part, taking advantage of my attention being elsewhere. Over here, what do we got? Some Gothalim Einyaur, who I think we might have missed. But they are a solid infantry unit, but they're actually being surrounded by AP units and my Sword Masters of Karnan, who have pinned them between, I want to say, just 2 hammers, really. AP damage on these guys is very, very strong. My Sword Masters of Karnan are no slouches in melee. I got my Daily Marksman out of ammunition that I'm using in conjunction with some of my Barding Herd to effect a flanking movement here. And you can see the Eldar kind of in the center, but more off to the Elven right wing, are in a lot of trouble. Nori Eterna warriors getting smacked about. Some very dusty Elder Inwe Heru Quinga taking a beating here from my encircling forces and from the Gondorians, who are helping to pin them in place. The Elven Center has been basically annihilated. Eladra Sentinels over here taking damage from my Blackshot Dragon Slayers, and they're actually going to end up breaking because of the presence of so many units and a lot of casualties being quickly inflicted upon them. And that leaves very, very little left from the High Elves. Eldarin, we had Umairo, charging down the Gondorians. Well, of course, there's our Spearmen, though. So that's going to suck for them. Axemen of Lossarnak, or Vlasarnak, however you want to say it. Charging out the Imladris Riders here, who are doing a fair amount of damage to these Axemen, but they're actually paying for it quite grievously. So the High Elves, pretty well destroyed at this point. I think that's mostly the end of the game. It ended up being a little bit one-sided, but I did this game after I made my Dale comp video, and I ended up using the comp that I wanted to use against Angmar, and there was no way that I couldn't show that to you guys. And it is a pretty good demonstration of some of the concepts that I talked about in the video, namely using Dale as a more defensive supporting army, which is what I've done a lot of in this particular battle. Supported my allies on both flanks, and used my proposed strategy against Angmar to quite great effect in the center, and managed to wipe them out, which in turn allowed me to reinforce my allies. So yeah, it was a good battle, and it really kind of is a nice proof of concept for some of the things I was talking about in my Dalish video. So I like it. Laketown Pikemen here, ooh, getting charged in the rear by some Black Serpent bodyguards. I think the Serpent bodyguards, they've been cycle charging into my pikemen, but my pikemen ended up turning around against them and skewering them. So that's it for the Black Serpent bodyguards. They've all been destroyed. Champions of Nafarat now surrounded by a lot of Laketown pikemen, and they are not having fun here. Against the long range of those pikes, it is not easy for these units to get through. Although it looks like new players just going to use kind of a push tactic here, pull them directly into my pikemen, which is going to hurt him. But it is going to bring his units within range of my pikes, and you can see, ooh, a couple of them just getting massacred there by the Champs of Nafarat, and they're actually going to start to pull that fight back. So yeah, good move there on the part of new player. Let's see what we got left over on the battlefield. Looks like the Haven Guard still in good health, reasonably good health. There's about 20 or something in the unit there, and the High Elves have been largely defeated. I think there's some Imladris Riders still remaining from Celtic, but that's basically it, and they're just going to try and get some kills here on these errant Axemen of Lossarnak. I've got my Blackshot Dragon Slayers nearby, and I was kind of tired of these guys, and there wasn't really any targets left, so I do actually use my AP ammunition on the Imladris Riders, which is not something that I normally recommend that you do. But it does damage quickly enough that it actually ends up breaking the unit, I'm pretty sure. Yes, indeed. And that's going to be it for Celtic's army. So let's pop back on over to the Champions of Nafarat, who are really the last man standing on what is a very, very blood-soaked battlefield. Let's see what we got here. 25 of them. Well, let's go ahead and kick things into full speed. Champions of Nafarat eagerly carving their way through my Laketown pikemen. But these Laketown units have just held them in place, and they were not able to move in and play any significant role in helping the High Elves, which is exactly what we wanted. So this is very much a good situation for Dale all around. I played to a lot of their strengths, and yeah, basically this is the kind of battle you could only dream of as Dale, because everything just works out so well for you. Now let's go ahead and let's fast forward here. Champions of Nafarat they're gonna take their sweet time. What do we got there? Looks like the Angmar general just got cut down by the Haven Guard. There's like one lone Inquisitor who's still haranguing the Haven Guard as they move towards the Champions of Nafarat in a final showdown. Now I think the Haven Guard have already butchered one unit of Trollmen, and the Champions of Nafarat are a little bit less numerous than they are. The big thing they have in their favor is their AP, however. AP is significant. Let's see, they finally managed to rout my Dalish pikes. These guys are, however, exhausted, while the Haven Guard are merely tired. Pretty even numbers, though. Ooh, exactly even numbers, 22 to 22. Witness me! And there you go. A nice little duel here between general units. Champions of Nafarat are quickly being bested by the Haven Guard, however. Really giving them the business. Ooh, that poor Haven Guard. Like he's going to get decapitated. Oh, there it goes. It's actually fairly even for the time being. I would have expected the Haven Guard to just massacre these guys. Although, yeah, now they're starting to pull it back in a real big way. Haven Guards Very, very strong, but I don't think they've taken quite as much HP damage as the champions of Nafarat from fighting my pikes for an extended period of time. It looks like the Haven Guard are going to have the victory, so let's go ahead and we'll speed that up. Prince Imrahil personally finishing off one of those champions of Nafarat. See if he gets another kill. Maybe? Nope. Stolen by this guy right here. One singular champion of Nafarat still left over. I was actually a little bit disappointed. I wanted them to win because I had my Blackshot Dragon Slayers out front and they're like basically out of ammo. But I wanted them to fight the champions of Nafarat. Gondor slowly but surely moving forward. Somehow the Fountain Guard are fresh. Don't know how that is. Those guys are superhuman. What do we got here? Well, that one champion is taking down quite a lot of Haven Guard. Nope, he's going to get struck down, and that's going to be the end of the battle. So a very bloody battle indeed, although it ended up being a little bit one-sided. We had, well, at least me and First Class Mint had a lot of our forces still left over. I had about twice what he did, but yeah, it really does show off the strengths of Dale, and that's why I wanted to show you this battle today. So let's take a look at some of the kills here. Man of One Way getting an absurd amount of kills from killing all of those Haradrim infantry. Very nicely done on his end. New player ultimately was able to defeat the, well, can we say that he was able to defeat the Dol Amroth forces? He probably would have been successful in carving his way through Dol Amroth, but he did get a little bit of reinforcements. Let's take a look. The casualties there, and look at my Lake Town Bowmen, 202 and 303. Lake Town River Patrol doing very well for themselves. Barding Herd doing okay-ish. Blackshot Dragon Slayers, a decent amount of kills. I don't know what my Dalian Marksman got. 148 and 219. So, yeah, the strength of Dale is in their archers and their ability to drown you behind a wall of cheaper infantry, which they can keep in place fairly well with some important units like the Swordmasters of Karnan, or General's Bodyguards, or the Dale Shrill Guard are a great example of that, etc., etc. So I hope you guys enjoyed this battle, and coming up next there's going to be a scenario. It's going to be a 3v5 scenario. I was going to do that first, but I wanted to do this because it was so relevant to what we were talking about earlier in the Dale video. But in any case, my name is Jordan, also known as JMonster. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye!